friends, and welcome back to Coached by Tara, the podcast where Tara...
Hi, that's me.
...coaches me about Twilight, the book series.
Yes.
It's written by Stephanie Meyer.
Yes, that is what we're starting with, at least.
Yes. Last episode, Tara went over the first chapter, which was titled...
First Sight.
Yep. Today we are going over the second chapter, which is titled... I'm going to guess... it's called Vampires Can't See Themselves in the Mirror.
No, it's called Chapter 2, Open Book.
Oh, interesting. Anyway, we're gonna go into Open Book.
But first, let's recap what your predictions.
I'm gonna give a recap, okay?
Oh, you're gonna give a recap of the chapter?
Every chapter I'm gonna recap on the next episode.
Okay, and then you'll have to recap what your predictions were a little bit.
Yes. Isabella, but she doesn't like to go by that. She's Bella.
Because she's cranky.
Lived in Phoenix, Arizona with her madre.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
Her madre, Renee.
Her mom, Renee. And Renee married a amateur baseball player, or Major League Baseball... No, minor league baseball player.
Yeah, they go over it later.
And traveled all over. She felt bad keeping her mom there, so she's moving to her dad's in Forks, Indiana.
Indiana?
Or Oregon. Why did I say Indiana?
Forks, Washington.
Yep. Somewhere where it's very green and gloomy, and she doesn't like that because she liked the blue skies and the browns of Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, she gets there. Her dad gets her a truck from his friend Billy Black, who's in a wheelchair now for some reason.
Yeah.
We'll learn more later.
No.
We
don't learn why he's in a wheelchair. They just say it.
I thought this was the story of Billy Black.
The importance was that he gave up his truck because he can't drive anymore.
So the whole wheelchair thing was just nonsense?
He can't drive anymore, so he gave the truck to her for free.
Okay, anyway, the wheelchair man's
that doesn't
there.
matter.
We'll learn about his origin story later, possibly. Then, so she gets a little truck. She goes to school. She meets Eric, who's the greasy, dirty, nerdy boy. And he's a simp. And then she meets Jessica, who in the movie's played by Anna Kendrick, and she's mad that Robert Pattinson won't touch her hoo-ha. So she tells Bella not to try. But then Bella notices Robert Pattinson and his brother, who's a big, strong man, and twins, and then like a pixie gal. And they're all vampires. I know that, even though they didn't tell us that yet. But I know.
They haven't said that.
And then she goes to the rest of her classes, and Robert, is kind of a dick. And he won't like look at her. He's like tense.
Robert.
He's like squeezing his fists super hard where his veins come out, and his eyes are all black. They kept talking about how his eyes were black. And I think at one point he went,
no, he didn't. He definitely.
Oh,
he didn't do that.
He didn't do that. No. Okay, I seem to remember that. I remember him like pulling his cape up and going blah too.
No.
And then at the end of the school day, she went to the office and he was in there trying to appeal to the secretary or whatever to get his class changed. The one class he had with her, which was biology, right?
Yep.
And then when he noticed she was in there, he was like, "Oh, never mind," and walked away.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we met Mike the simp, who was like he has spiky hair, and he was like, "Hey, Bella, I would talk to you the whole time. I was sitting next to you, baby girl." And that's it. Did I cover that well?
Yeah, that was great.
So my predictions were that either Edward has a like hate boner for her, like he thinks she's so hot that he can't be around her, so he hates it, or he wants to suck her blood really fucking badly, and that's why he's acting like that. I think that her dad's going to become a vampire. Charlie. Sorry, I remember all the other names.
I know.
Charlie.
And I haven't even really given. I mean, I did give you the specific names for all those people with Edward, but we'll get more into that later.
Okay, I guess I don't remember those names either.
It's okay.
Charlie, I think, is going to become a vampire at some point because it reminded me of the movie Casper. And then I
think that's it.
Those were my predictions. If there were more, let me know. Anyway,
let's dive into chapter 2.
Let's dive. What is the name of the chapter again? Open book. I knew that. Read me like an open book. I don't know why I said that. Tara, are you ready to return to the green, gloomy, sparkly vampire world of Twilight?
Yes. Let's go. Chapter 2. So she goes to school.
Book.
Yes, open book. So she goes to school. She goes, the next day was better and worse. So it was better because it wasn't raining when she went to school, and she was like, heck yeah. And then Mike comes to sit by her in English class and walks her to her next class. And
then he was
like, she calls him Chess Club Eric. I forgot she calls him.
Club
yeah.
Eric. Do you think Mike, when he walked her to the class, was like, hey, since I walked you to your class, you think I can have a kiss?
No.
Oh, he didn't do that?
No.
He wasn't total simp?
Not yet, at least.
Chess Club Eric, got it.
So she says, Mike came to sit by me in English and walk me to my next class with Chess Club Eric glaring at him all the while. That was flattering.
Simp Mike versus Chess Club Eric fight? I can't wait.
People didn't look at me quite as much as they had yesterday because she was brand new. Like, who is that girl?
She was sparkly.
She sat with the big group at lunch again. That included Mike, Eric, Jessica, and several other people whose names and faces that she remembers now. And she begins to feel like she's treading water instead of drowning in it, she says. Oh. Yeah. Oh, life is so hard in high school, She says it was worse because, like, it was better because of all that, but it was worse because she was tired. She couldn't sleep with the wind echoing around her house. Like, she's not used to
wind exists in Phoenix, Arizona.
I know.
I want to point this out, Bella.
Yeah,
wind
true.
exists.
And it was also worse because someone, like a teacher, called on her in class and she had the wrong answer. She was embarrassed.
What a dumbass.
And it was miserable because she had to play volleyball in gym and she hit her teammate in the head, But it was the worst because Edward Cullen wasn't in school at all, she says.
So he didn't even come to school. His hate boner was so large.
Maybe, I don't know.
She doesn't like the hate boner.
All morning she's dreading lunch, fearing for his like weird glares, like his hate glares. Part of her wanted to confront him and demand like what his problem was, but she's like basically freaking herself out, But then when she walked into the cafeteria with Jessica, she saw that all 4 of his siblings were there, but he wasn't there. So then Mike like intercepted them and like took him to their table, and she's just like noticing how like they're not like he's not there or whatever. And then she walked, but she was like better because she was like, oh, I'm going to biology and he's not going to be there. Like, it's going to be great, because like she's not like freaked out by his weird behavior from the day before. And he wasn't there either. So he wasn't in biology. He wasn't there the whole day. And she was relieved that she had the desk to herself and that he was gone. But she was like, I can't get rid of the nagging suspicion that I was the reason he wasn't there. Like, because he was acting really weird yesterday, right? And when the school day was done, she walked out to the parking lot and she discovered the day, like, it's just normal day now. Like, normal things happening. She discovered that when she was, like, with her first day with her dad or whatever, the first couple days, that he's, like, not a very good cook. Like, he usually would, like, go to a local diner for food all the time. And, like, she's just noticing things.
He's a single man.
Yeah, he's a bachelor. Right. So, she made, like, a shopping list and he left money. And so she, like, went to go get those groceries and stuff. She's like, oh, like, I'm going to go to the store after school because she, like, makes note of, like, all that stuff that happened. Like, learning about Charlie and his things. And she notices that, like, the 2 Cullens and the Hale twins were the ones that, like, were getting into the Volvo, like, the shiny Volvo from the parking lot. So she notices, like, now that I looked, it was obvious that they were all dressed exceptionally well, simply but in clothes that subtly hinted at designer origins. With their remarkable good looks, the style with which they carried themselves, they could have worn dish rags and pulled it off. It seemed excessive for them to both have looks and money, but as far as I could tell, life worked that way most of the time. It didn't look as if it bought them any acceptance here. So she's saying, like,
they're kind of outcasts.
She noticed, that even though they're, like, super beautiful and have all this money, it seems like they're still, like, the outcasts of the town.
It's because they're vampires.
Is it? We don't know. Do we?
Impossible to say.
Impossible to say.
If they're vampires or not.
She says, like, I didn't fully believe that was... She says it didn't look as if it bought them any acceptance here. No, I didn't fully believe that. The isolation must be their desire. I couldn't imagine any door that wouldn't be opened by that degree of beauty. I think that's it's just, like, a really interesting thing to say, I guess.
Well, I mean, okay. I get what she's saying, but at the same time, an even bigger hurdle for people, even if they're good looking, is social interaction.
Right.
If you're good looking and you're just like stiff as a breadstick,
Stiff as a breadstick.
you're stiff, you're rigid like a breadstick, like old Greg would say. It's kind of tough to get anywhere because if you can't talk for yourself,
right?
So
it's so true.
They seem kind of antisocial to me.
I think so too. So I think it's strange that she has like other predictions about them, I guess.
She seems like she's way too in her own head.
Yeah, she's very in her own head.
But maybe that's part of the fact because we're seeing everything through her eyes.
It's true. I mean, I feel like when you're reading a book, though, you don't think about how much you think, but all those same thoughts,
right.
like you go through the same long
But I also don't
process.
look at someone who's beautiful and go, oh wow, I can't believe they're an outcast, even though they're so beautiful. Like, I don't have thoughts.
But
like that.
it's super apparent, like especially in high school, wouldn't you be like, oh my god, they're like so beautiful, they should fit in? Like, I don't know. Maybe I didn't do that either because I didn't really do that. But like, I feel like it's a typical thing. I don't know.
I feel like I don't know. My high school, I think, experience was a little atypical from the small town.
Yeah, me too.
We're not from small town, so it's a little different for us, I think. Anyway.
Right. So then she goes home after the store, blah, blah, blah. She emails her mom, like, just checking in, like, and
Mom, this guy hates me, LOL.
Right. I mean, it's weird because...
I didn't even do anything, LMAO.
It's weird because, like, I feel like that's kind of, like, on her mind so much, whereas, like, a normal person, it's like, okay, like, that just happened, like, let's let it go. She doesn't say anything to her mom.
I don't know. I feel like I would worry about that.
Yeah.
Like, if I sat next to somebody and and they were just like... You could tell they didn't want to sit next to me. I'd be like, what the fuck did I do? Do I smell bad? I would have that same reaction, I think, at least.
Right. And so the emails from her mom are basically like, miss you already. Tell me how your flight was. Why haven't you emailed me yet? What are you waiting for? Like, I haven't heard from you. I'm calling you if you don't call me or if you don't email me soon. And she's just like, oh, yeah, everything's great. Of course it's raining. Like, oh, of course it's raining all the time. Her mom, like, asked her, like, a question about, like, where something of hers was, and she, like, answers. So, like, it's just, like, another quirk of, like, Renee is that she's, like, kind of ditzier and, like...
Renee might be in trouble without Bella there.
Well, it's just, like, it's, like, just goes to show, like, Bella was kind of, like, being the more... like decision maker, responsible one.
Well, she's an old soul. She's middle-aged.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So she's like, well, I moved for my mom's sake. Like, I'm making these decisions for my mom because, like, I am acting like her, like, caretaker, basically, almost.
Unrelated, I just want to say, Tara just got her hair done, and she dyed it red and got some...
It's purple.
Purple red. It's a purple red. But it looks amazing, and I was just noticing it while she was talking, and I just want to point that out on the podcast. Anyway, continue.
Okay, thank you. She decides to, after that, like, she's doing normal things. She's reading a book. She's really into English novels, Bella is. So she's reading Wuthering Heights. Just saying. She's really into that.
I needed an example.
English literature.
Right.
Yeah, so... she makes Charlie food, and he's coming home from work. And
What'd she make him?
She made steak and potatoes.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because she's,
hell yeah.
feeding to the bachelor crowd, I'm sure.
Some steak and potatoes.
And they eat, like, quietly because they're, like, kind of awkward still. And he, like, asks about school. And he's like, have you made any friends? And she says, well, I have a few classes with a girl named Jessica. I sit with her at lunch. And there's this boy, Mike, who's very friendly. Everybody seems pretty nice. And he's like, oh, yeah, that must be Mike Newton. Nice kid, nice family. His dad owns the sporting goods store.
Kind of a simp, though.
Mike's dad owns a sporting goods store outside of town. And so then Bella goes, do you know the Cullen family? And,
bum, bum, bum. And he's like, they're vampires.
And he's like, Dr. Cullen's family? Sure, Dr. Cullen's a great man. And she says, the kids are a little different. They don't seem to fit in very well at school. And she says, Charlie surprised me by looking angry. People in this town, he muttered. Dr. Cullen is a brilliant surgeon who could probably work in any hospital in the world, make 10 times the salary he gets here, he continued, getting louder. We're lucky to have him, lucky that his wife wanted to live in a small town. He's an asset to the community, and all of those kids are well-behaved and polite. I had my doubts when they first moved in with all those adopted teenagers. I thought we might have some problems with them, but they're all very mature. I haven't had one speck of trouble from any of them. That's more than I could say for the children of some folks who have lived in this town for generations, and they stick together the way families should. Camping trips every other weekend. Just because they're newcomers, people have to talk. So he's like,
Charlie.
He's like, I love Charlie because he's just like, he tells it how it is. Like
Right.
he's like a super quiet guy, but then he like goes on a rant like when he's like,
Well, I mean, he doesn't tell it exactly how it is, but how he sees it.
Yeah. But like, you know, he like sticks to what he believes in, and he's
Right.
always just like super honest, you know? And she goes, wow, it was the longest speech I've ever heard Charlie make. He must feel strongly about whatever people were saying. And she says, I backpedaled. They seem nice enough to me. I just noticed they kept to themselves. They're all very attractive, I added, trying to be more complimentary. And he goes, you should see the doctor, Charlie said, laughing. It's a good thing he's happily married. A lot of the nurses at the hospital have a hard time concentrating on their work with him around. Ooh, yeah.
Ooh, yeah. Dr. Cullen,
So basically,
operate on
like,
me.
that's the important part of, like, that part of the chapter is, like, she asks her dad, like, about them.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think just getting another opinion rather than kids at school that
Right.
are like, well, they're weird. Like,
Right.
so then
And Edward won't dick me down, so don't even try.
no, God. So then she goes to class again, and it says the rest of the week is uneventful, and then by Friday she recognizes most people at school now, like because it's a small town.
So wait, was Edward not going to school that whole time?
Yeah, Ellen. It said the next line I'm going to read. It says, Edward Cullen didn't come back to school. Every day I waited anxiously until the rest of the Cullens entered the cafeteria without him. Then I could relax and join in the regular lunchtime conversation. Mostly it centered around the trip to La Push Ocean Park in 2 weeks that Mike was putting together. I was invited and had agreed to go more out of politeness than desire. Beaches should be hot and dry. She was like, meh. She's like, meh, they should be hot. Like, it's cold and rainy here. Like, you know.
So what do they do at the beach? They just like drink beers?
No, they're in high school.
Okay. You didn't drink a beer in high school?
Not really.
Tara, it's okay. You can't get in trouble now. It's
I know.
the statute
I
of
know.
limitations is expired.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, you can't get in trouble now.
I feel like I didn't drink that much in high school. I was kind of a good kid.
I drank way more before I was 21 than I did.
I mean, I could agree to that. Like, I drank more before I was 21, but it was like after high school, though. You can't say
You
the
got
same.
a lamer over here.
Yeah, thanks a lot. So
You tell me these kids don't. Mike doesn't have a beer.
I don't know.
Mike the simp. His dad owns the sporting goods store. They're in a small town. That man, he might not like the beer. He might make a face after he takes a swig out of it.
I feel like people that
might
drink
pretend
beers.
to drink it and dump it out.
Did you have beers when you were in high school? I don't think that
Yeah.
people had beers. They had like Burnett's vodka or something stupid.
I ran the gamut.
Excuse me?
I ran the gamut. I had everything.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
How?
Old fashioned here.
No, you didn't.
Rum and Coke.
You would
there.
never. That's
What do you mean? I love old fashions.
I know, but in high school.
Yeah,
You're just like.
I walked in, 17 years old, to the party. I walked up to the keg and I said, "I'll have an old fashioned, please." And
Who's
they
getting
made
a
me one.
keg for a high school party? I was too good of a kid, obviously. 'Cause
Yeah,
I don't.
guess so.
I don't even know. Anyway, so the rest of the like, you know, she's like, by Friday, I'm perfectly comfortable in my biology class because he's not there. For all I know, he dropped out of school. And then her first weekend in Forks passed without incident. Blah blah blah. She was like happy that people greeted her in the parking lot on Monday morning. And then she sits next to Mike in English now because like they're friends.
Right.
You know?
Her and Simp Mike.
Yeah, her and Sim Mike. And then it's like snowing outside all of a sudden, and like everyone's.
Wait, what time of year is it?
I think it's like later. It's not the beginning of the school year. She started like in the middle of the school year.
Oh, I was thinking she started at the beginning of the year, but
Actually, it might have been close to the beginning of the year, but it just randomly is snowing.
I mean, I guess it's pretty far up north.
Yeah. I mean, it's like here, like where it can randomly snow in October.
I suppose.
She didn't start at the first day of school. I kind of inferred that from like how the movie goes and stuff, because she's like entering classes that they've already been in the class for a while.
Gotcha.
I mean, she had the last seat in that class because everyone already had seats.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
You're right. My apologies.
So he's like, oh my God, it's snowing. And he's like, don't you, like, she's like, ew. And he's like, don't you like snow? And she's like, no.
No, I don't like snow. I'm from Arizona, you creep.
And she's never seen snowfall before.
I guess she would only go to Forks during the summer.
Yeah.
Forks, Indiana.
So then, like when they're walking to their different classes, sometimes they have to walk outside.
Wait, what?
Yeah, like they have like
This school
different
has
buildings.
300 people and it has multiple buildings?
Yeah.
I
think it's like the gymnasium or something. I don't know. It's set up that way in the movie too. I mean, the high school is a real high school in Forks.
Right.
And it's really like that.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure.
Did Stephanie Meyer go to Forks? Is that why she picked?
I have no idea. Someone could tell us.
Yeah, someone could. Please.
So people are hyped that it's snowing because they're like, yay, snow. I don't know why. I would be the same way. I'd be like, eh. Oh, yes. So then they're walking to lunch. And it says, like, Mike caught up to us as we all walked in the doors laughing with ice melting the spikes in his hair. He and Jessica were talking animatedly about the snow fight because they had, like, a little snow fight outside.
OMG.
Yeah. As we got in line to buy food, I glanced toward that table in the corner out of habit, and then I froze where I stood. There were 5 people at the table.
Edward.
Oh, Edward.
Oh, Edward. Eddie.
And
Does
just
call him Eddie?
No.
She doesn't even?
No, but Molly and I used to call him Eddie.
You and Molly used to call Edward Cole Eddie when you hung out with him?
Yeah.
When you made shirts?
No, she didn't come with me for that. So then,
shout out to Molly.
So then,
She's
oh my God, she's like freaking out. She's like feeling self-conscious for some reason.
Fear boner.
And like the people, her friends are like, "Aren't you hungry?" And she's like, "I feel a little sick." Blah. And she only gets a soda. So then she has to like get through lunch thinking that she has to go to biology and he's going to be there, you know?
Yeah.
And she's like trying to peek glances at them or whatever. And then Jessica asks, "Bella, what are you staring at?" And at that precise moment, his eyes flashed over to meet mine. I dropped my head, letting my hair fall to conceal my face. I was sure, though, in the instant our eyes met, that he didn't look harsh or unfriendly as he did the last time I'd seen him. He looked merely curious again, unsatisfied in some way. Edward Cullen is staring at you, Jessica giggled in my ear. He doesn't look angry, does he? I couldn't help asking. No, she said, sounding confused by my question. Should he be? I don't think he likes me, I confided. I still felt queasy. I put my head down on my arm. The Cullens don't like anybody. Well, they don't notice anybody enough to like them. So she's like, you know.
Right.
They don't notice anybody
did she
enough.
try to like get with all of them? Is that why she's mad?
I don't know. But he's still staring at you. Stop looking at him, I hissed, she says. She snickered, but she looked away. I raised my head enough to make sure that she did, contemplating violence if she resisted. Weird. So then she has to go to class, and she didn't really want to walk to class with Mike as usual because he was like a target for the snowball fights.
Because they have to walk outside.
Yeah, because they have to walk outside. I think it's maybe the lunchroom that's detached from like the rest. I don't know. So she says, once inside the classroom, I saw with relief that my table was still empty, so she was able to go to her table. And I heard very clearly when the chair next to mine moved, but my eyes stayed carefully focused on the pattern I was drawing. Hello, said a quiet musical voice. I looked up, stunned that he was speaking to me. He was sitting as far from me from the desk as was allowed, but his chair was angled toward me. His hair was dripping wet, disheveled. Even so, disheveled. Even so, he looked like he'd just finished shooting a commercial for hair gel. His dazzling face was friendly, open, a slight smile on his flawless lips, but his eyes were careful. My name is Edward Cullen, he continued. I didn't have a chance to introduce myself last week. You must be Bella Swan. So he's like, she's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, he's being completely normal.
She's like, okay. She says, the book says, my mind was spinning with confusion. Had I made up the whole thing? He was perfectly polite now. I had to speak. He was waiting, but I couldn't think of anything conventional to say. How do you know my name? I stammered. He laughed, a soft, enchanting laugh. Oh, I think everyone knows your name. The whole town's been waiting for you to arrive. I grimaced. I knew it was something like that. No, I persisted stupidly. I meant, why did you call me Bella? He seemed confused. Do you prefer Isabella? No, I like Bella, I said. But I think my dad, must call me Isabella behind my back. That's what everyone here seems to know me as, I tried to explain, feeling like an utter moron. Oh, he let it drop. So then they're like doing a lab together, which is like
so hot.
It's like the one where I'm sure you had to do it in high school too. I had to do it, where you're like looking at the slides and you're like doing the phases, trying to identify the phases of mitosis.
I think that was the day I had the anger boner, and so I wasn't able
Oh
to.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't
that
remember.
right?
I don't
Okay.
remember that.
So basically, they like he's like, okay, well, like you work in your pair with
Right.
this, and then he's like, ladies first. He's like being nice to her, and she's like, okay.
She's like, ugh.
But she's done lab before in her old school, so she's like, I know this.
I know mitosis.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Identifies the first phase, and then the important part is he's like, do you mind if I look? And his hand caught mine to stop me as he asked. His fingers were ice cold, like he'd been holding them in a snowdrift before class. But that wasn't why I jerked my hand away so quickly. When he touched me, it stung my hand as if an electric current had passed through us.
Oh my god.
Ooh.
Oh. I didn't realize we were reading one of those romance novels with Fabio on the front.
So they continue through that where like she's like no.
She's like horny.
No.
Are you sure?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Are
I'm
you
unsure.
sure?
I can't read her mind. Unclear. So
They don't. Stephanie Meyer doesn't go into detail about how horny she
no,
is.
no. So then, like, because she identified the first phase of, the first
Mitosis.
yeah, and he's like, "Can I check?" And so like the next one he does it, and she's like, "So can I check it?" Like
Right, bouncing back at
right,
him.
yeah.
Firing back.
They finish like really quickly because they're both like they. No. Because they both know what they're doing.
Even better.
I know. And she's like, I don't know what else to do. It says, which left me with nothing to do but tried not to look at him. Unsuccessfully, I glanced up and he was staring at me. That same inexplicable look of frustration in his eyes. Suddenly, I identified that subtle difference in his face. Did you get contacts? I blurted out unthinkingly. He seemed puzzled by my unexpected question. No. Oh, I mumbled. I thought there was something different about your eyes. He shrugged and looked away. In fact, I was sure there was something different. I vividly remembered the flat black color of his eyes the last time he'd glared at me. The color was striking against the background of his pale skin and his auburn hair. Today, his eyes were a completely different color, a strange ochre, darker than butterscotch, but with the same golden tone. I didn't understand how that could be unless he was lying for some reason about the contacts, or maybe Forks was making me crazy in the literal sense of the word. Any thoughts about that? Or no?
Oh, about his eyes?
Yeah. I mean, because you noticed that I said that his eyes were black, and now they're like a butterscotch color.
Well, I mean, when we're saying his eyes were completely black, to me that means his pupils were really dilated.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that feeds into my horny.
Okay, your horny prediction.
My horny prediction.
Got it.
But it also could feed into my vampire prediction, where it's pretty common for vampires' eyes, their pupils to be dilated when they're like bloodlusting, right?
Okay.
Also, he could have contacts in, and maybe he was just really upset that day because his vision wasn't as good as he wanted it to be.
Maybe. You might be right. Who knows? We'll see. Like the teacher comes over and he's like, so Edward, you didn't even give Bella a chance to like answer, like do the like guess what they were.
Edward.
And he's like, well, actually, she's the one that identified 3 of the 5 stages. Like this wasn't me being smart. Like he's just like trying to like back her up because,
Right.
and the teacher's like, well, have you done this lab before? And she's like, yeah. Basically.
Yeah, I've done this before. In Arizona, we're like fucking 3 months ahead of you clowns.
Yeah, and he's like, well, I guess it's good you two are lab partners, and then just like leaves.
What the wait, why is that teacher so fucking aggressive?
I don't know.
What the fuck? The most aggressive my science teacher ever was is he walked up to the lab table, asked us a question, and then clearly farted and walked away.
Oh, that's weird.
Like you couldn't hear it, but like he made a face like you know,
ew.
and then walked away, and it smelled like shit
Oh
for like
my
5
God.
minutes afterwards.
That's crazy.
His name was Mr. Engel. That's right, Mr. Engel. I'm doxing you right now. Don't walk around to people's desks and fart, you
Oh
asshole.
my God. Okay, moving on. So then they're just small talking now, because
Because
he was really weird before.
Well, he defended her too.
Yeah,
so she's
true.
probably like, okay, he's not that bad.
So he's like, it's too bad about the snow, isn't it? And she's like, oh, not really. Because she's trying to like be. She says
She's trying to be normal.
Yeah, she's trying to be normal. He says, you don't like the cold. It wasn't a question. She says, or the what? Forks must be a difficult place for you to live, he mused. You have no idea, she says. Then he looked fascinated by what I said. For some reason I couldn't imagine. His face was such a distraction that I tried to not look at it any more than courtesy absolutely demanded. So he's very beautiful.
Yes.
She can't look away.
Wait, is he beautiful?
Yes.
I wasn't sure from
No.
how much the book says.
Oh, yeah? Why did you come here then? No one had asked me that before, not straight out like he did, demanding. She goes, it's complicated. I think I can keep up. So she says, my mother got remarried. He says, oh, that doesn't sound so complex. When did that happen? And she says, last September. And he goes, and you don't like him. And she's like, oh, no, Phil is fine. Phil's her stepdad.
Phil! Shout out to Phil.
Too young, maybe, but nice enough. She said, "What?" He says, why didn't you stay with them? And she says, basically, that Phil travels a lot. He plays ball for a living. And he's like, have I heard of him? And she's like, probably not. He's minor league. And he moves around a lot. And he's like, okay, so your mother sent you here so that she could travel with him. And she goes, no, she didn't send me here. I sent myself. And he goes, I don't understand. And she says, well, she stayed with me at first, but she missed him. It made her unhappy. So I decided it was time to spend some quality time with Charlie.
Right.
Yep. And he says, but now you're unhappy. And she's like, and he says, that doesn't seem fair. And she's like, hasn't anyone ever told you life isn't fair?
Yeah.
But she's
Edward.
like joking, you know.
Right.
Well, it says, I laughed without humor. He says, I believe I have heard that somewhere before. And she's like, so that's it. Like, that's all. That's the reason why, you know. So he's like getting in. He's learning that, like, that's kind of like how she is as a person.
Right.
He said, well, you put on a good show, but I'd be willing to bet that you're suffering more than you let anyone see. I feel like that's like a really weird like thing to say.
Yeah, he's definitely like armchair psychologist-ing her right now. You know what I mean? He's like, yeah, well, it seems like this. And it's like, dude, no one fucking asked you.
No one asked
buddy.
you. No one asked
With
you.
your cold hands, wear some mittens.
And he says, am I wrong? And she said, she tries to ignore him, and he says, I didn't think so. And she's like, why does it matter to you? And he goes, that's a very good question, he muttered so quietly that I wondered if he was talking to himself. And he goes, am I annoying you? And she said, not exactly. I'm more annoyed at myself. My face is so easy to read. My mother always calls me her open book. Hence the chapter name.
Put in the picture of Leonardo DiCaprio in Wolf of Wall Street when he's pointing at the TV. They said the thing.
They said the thing. He goes, on the contrary, I find you very difficult to read. Despite everything that I'd said and he'd guessed, he sounded like he meant it. You must be a good reader then, I replied. Usually, he smiled widely, flashing a set of perfect ultra-white teeth.
Some were sharp.
No, it doesn't say that.
Oh.
That's like the end of their interaction, really.
Oh my
and
God,
he left.
I need more. I need more Bella and Edward right now.
He left like quickly, like he did that last time. He said the
bell rings and he just bolts.
Yeah,
for the
he
door.
like just basically goes to the door.
Well, I imagine it's like when a teacher tells you no running, so you're like walking as fast. Your arms are really close to your side.
Exactly. Yeah. And then she like Mike goes to her table like to walk her to gym because they have a gym next, and
Mike's probably getting a little jealous.
He's like, that was so bad. Like all those slides look the same, and she's like, well, I didn't have any problem with it. Like, so basically, he's just like a dumb guy.
Yeah, Mike's
not
kind
dumb,
of a
but
simp.
like he's just like a typical like.
He's
dude,
a simp in multiple ways. He's like the old definition of simp and the new.
But she
definition
still
of
tries
simp.
to be nice. She's like, but I have done this lab before. I added before he could get his feelings hurt, is what it says. And then he's like, well, Cullen seemed friendly enough today. And she tries to sound indifferent. I wonder what was with him last Monday.
How can you sound indifferent if you know like the exact day?
I know. I don't know.
That's not indifferent, Bella.
So then she goes to the gym. She finishes up the day, and then she goes to her car. And she looks around her to make sure the coast is clear. Like she just says, I look around me to make sure it was clear. Oh, to leave. That's when I noticed the still white figure. Edward Cullen was leaning against the front door of the Volvo, 3 cars down from me, and staring intently in my direction. I swiftly looked away and threw the truck into reverse, almost hitting a rusty Toyota Corolla in my haste. Luckily for the Toyota, I stomped on the brake in time. So basically she just like noticed him, and she got like
And she's like,
flustered.
get me the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
And
she was like, ah! It says, I took a deep breath, still looking out the other side of my car, and cautiously pulled out again with greater success. I stared straight ahead as I passed the Volvo, but from my peripheral peak, I would swear I saw him laughing. And that's how the chapter ends.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So so end of the chapter. What are your reactions on like their first real interaction beside her being like, him being like really super mad?
First interaction, hot.
Oh, yeah.
my first thought, hot. Second, he's weird. Like it reminds me of like, did you have that guy you went to high school with who just thought he knew everything? And like maybe he was like the drum major of the band, or maybe he was like, I mean, maybe he was like high up in the band or something, and he just thought he was like knew everything, but he really wasn't that smart.
No.
You didn't have that?
No. But I don't think
Like,
that he's that either.
That's how he
your
came off to
perception?
me.
Yeah.
My perception, like maybe like the guy thought he was really smart, but then you'd play like a trivia game in like social studies and you'd destroy him because he wasn't that smart.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and maybe he had small hands. Maybe I'm projecting about a specific high school person I went to high school with.
I think the person you're describing is actually more like Simp Mike.
No, because Simp Mike admitted that he couldn't figure out
That's
the
true.
science thing. He
That's
doesn't
true.
think he knows more than everything. Now, is Simp Mike a typical like nice guy? And he's like, girls don't give me a chance. I'm such a nice guy. And then he like is a date rapist or something. Possible, but
I guess we'll find out later.
yeah, I hope he's not. But
Me too.
but like he could be that nice guy type, even if he doesn't end up a date rapist. You get what I mean? Like girls don't give me a chance,
Right.
Because I'm such a nice guy, and then
Right.
they're like just a simp. Mike probably donates thousands of dollars to a girl on Twitch, and then doesn't understand why she has a boyfriend. That's not him.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, that's what I think about Mike. Not me. Wow, someone could really clip that out of context and think I'm talking about myself. Yikes.
Well, gosh.
Anyway, it's interesting that obviously I'm coming into this knowing that they are vampires, right?
Do you?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so,
you
like,
basically do.
Obviously,
I mean, I feel like that's something that's like been spoiled for all of time. You can't really avoid that.
right, I know Twilight is about sparkly vampires. Like, I can't. And I know Robert Pattinson, Edward Cullen, is a vampire. So obviously they're living, the Cullens, Dr. Cullen and the kids are living out some kind of secret society life. And when Charlie mentions them going camping every other weekend, like they're doing something to get their bloodlust taken down. And I'm starting to think that maybe Edward was going to lose control, and that's why he took off school, because he needed to do something in order to quell that. You're smiling more than when I usually make a prediction.
No, it's just interesting because it's funny that you say that, because for so long I feel like we all don't really know what he was doing, but it's only funny because Stephanie Meyer just released a book that is Twilight in Edward's perspective. Like, that is the new book right now.
Oh.
It's called Midnight Sun. So it's literally the book of Twilight in Edward's perspective.
So wait, you're telling me they never explain what he was doing?
No, you kind of infer like you are right now. But, like, it's funny because we actually do learn, like, the exact side of his story because we read it, like, in that book.
Interesting.
So,
anyway,
I'm not saying that you're right or wrong. I'm
Right,
just saying, like, it's just funny because, like, we actually do truly know as a fan base, like, what really is happening then.
It's weird. I actually really like vampire lore. Like, I really like the Castlevania video game series and the anime. I really like a lot of different things with vampires, but Twilight's never been something I've been into. So I'm just kind of using my knowledge to infer to how vampires work for Edward. But anyway, I don't know. This was kind of this was the first. This was the meet cute of the story, right?
Yes, this is all just
because they ruined the meet cute by having him be Mad Boy during the first meet cute. What could have been the first meet cute.
Right.
And this is the real meet cute. Except she didn't like drop her glasses or anything, and then he picked him up. It was just kind of like
he's finally just like not acting like a dick, you know? Yeah.
I'm Edward.
He's magical.
Right. Yeah, that's all. I mean, predictions. I don't know if I have any predictions because we kind of haven't gotten far enough for me to make a new prediction on something.
I feel like the first two chapters are just like basically the entire setup, like of everything.
And we're starting to get into the
meat of
the mystery, the mystery of it. How many chapters are in this book?
Let me reference really quickly. So there are 24 chapters.
Okay, so this...
And there's also an epilogue, but
Right.
it would just be in the last one.
So what we're going to do is we're just going to try to do a chapter an episode unless there's like a chapter that's pretty short.
Mm-hmm. The next chapter is pretty short, so we'll just have to see as we go,
Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so we're recording this every other week and then releasing, every Tuesday for you guys. I hope you enjoy it. Hit us up at cbterrapodcast@gmail.com if you have any questions. Hit us up on Twitter, which I still don't know what the @ is, but it will be on. I'll tell you what it is. Or you can go on our Discord and go into the Coach by Tara part of our Discord.
Mm-hmm.
Where else can they find you, Tara?
At Tara J. Bush at twitter.com.
At Twitter.
At twitter.com.
at Tara J. Bush. You can find me
At SpikeGhetti.
or on the Ansem Report podcast, which is the Kingdom Hearts podcast we do every week. All right. Tara, thank you for coaching me today.
You're welcome.
I feel very... I'm starting to get into it. I feel more knowledgeable.
I feel excited to keep going
Yes.
because you already know the setup of everything, so there's only more exciting things to come.
Now that we're set up, it's only going to develop.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
No, stop.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.